Good morning. Happy Monday. Whitney Ellison here with Ellison Enterprises. And today on our episode of the Enneagram Mom interviews, we have a wonderful woman. Her name is Shannon Jenkins. She's out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And we will get to a little bit about her in a minute. But as a reminder, the Enneagram is a wonderful tool for developing self-awareness and empathy. And the mission of our show is to amplify mom voices by telling our stories, honoring our differences, and offering useful tips from their specific Enneagram strengths that will help all moms. Good morning, Wise Wellness Guild. I see you on there. How are you this morning? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us with Shannon and supporting her. Today's sponsorship is Gallia Collaborative, and Dr. Ashley Solomon founded this platform for women, by women. It is dedicated to providing expert services and resources to heal, grow, and lead for women everywhere, and it is dedicated to being accessible. They are offering a free mental wellness self-assessment on their website. So if you want to visit their website, you can head over there and take a free self-assessment. And this is pretty awesome and an example of the work that they do. They are starting in November a prenatal Thrive Circle. This is for all prenatal moms, not just new moms, not just first-time moms. So again, that's Gallia Collaborative. We're so excited to have them as a sponsor. For more information, head to their website or follow their Instagram handle, Gallia Collaborative. This morning, we have Miss Shannon Jenkins. She is a 1 wing 9. She is new to the journey of the Enneagram, but she's done a little homework and has a really, really good story about the childhood of an Enneagram 1. I'm so excited to talk about that. And we touched a little bit yesterday in a one-on-one conversation about some great thoughts she had on parenting tips as an Enneagram 1. So this is going to be a fantastic conversation. Shannon is from Cincinnati, Ohio. She is the mom of 2 young boys. So I'm going to bring her on now. Welcome, Shannon. To get on here. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's so nice to see your beautiful face. How are you?
Same to you. I'm fine. Thank you.
Good. Well, welcome to the Enneagram Mom interviews. It's great to have you.
Thanks.
Yes.
Exciting to be here.
And happy Monday.
Yes. Happy Monday.
Well, Shannon, we're new friends, so I'm
Yes.
learning more about you. I would love for us to start out with you kind of sharing a little bit about yourself, your background, your day-to-day, your kiddos and your family, what you're up to.
Yeah. My background, I kind of a single mother parent household, but my dad was very active. They just got divorced. Mother was an entrepreneur, and as a child, I was in gymnastics. I started at age 3, did that until age 13, just because I decided that I wasn't going to go to the Olympics. And it wasn't fun anymore. So I did competitive cheerleading when competitive cheerleading wasn't as big as it is now, which got me a scholarship to go to college. So I got a scholarship to go to college. Nice. Graduated, master's, started working, and now recently COVIDed. I heard someone say it that I was like, I like COVIDed. Laid off right now, but
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it is what it is, right? So have a husband. We've been together for 8 years. I should know that better. 2 boys, DJ and Justice. They're 5 and 3. DJ just turned 5. They are very active. They are boys.
I know, I was going to say, as little boys tend to be.
Yes. Sometimes I have to tell them, I'm your mommy. I'm not your daddy. You can't tackle me or punch me in the stomach or, you know, just crazy boy stuff. And I'm like, I'm not that. So that's about me. So right now, you know, kind of getting the lay of the unemployment land and seeing what's out there.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. That's a really good summation of who you are. And again, I am sorry to hear about getting COVIDed. That stinks. So having said that, we're in the same community. So, I'll
Mhm.
certainly keep my eyes and ears open for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So, with that being said,
Hmm.
tell me about the job that you had and like the
Hmm.
type of career that you are into, like in terms of your educational background and
Absolutely.
what you like, because I want to talk about that versus how your Enneagram number plays into it.
Gotcha. Perfect. So, marketing is, that's been my life. So, marketing and some project management of marketing projects and everything like that. So, my first full-time job out of college, I responded to RFPs, believe it or not, which was a
Ooh,
very, for insurance. So it was very, you had to be, very, on point. Let's just say that.
yeah,
So I've always had marketing. A lot of it's been B2B. I worked at an agency for a while, an ad agency, then at a nonprofit. But recently, I was a director of marketing at a promo products company. So, like the little keychains and stuff you throw away.
yeah,
So I did that, and I led a team of 6 people. So I had a website, the social and digital, a couple graphic designers, and then like a project manager. And I love just leading. I loved my team. I was a better leader because of them.
yeah,
I treated it as, it sounds so cliche that they don't report to me, but I report to them. And that's how I truly treated it. And it made that our departure like even very hard. I still keep up with them. It's only been like a month, but still
yeah.
keeping up, texting and everything like that for some of them. But yeah, so that's my job. But speaking on the project management side,
Hmm.
that's what my master's is in. And when I was getting my project management MBA, I was like, this is kind of easy. And as I was thinking about, that whole reformer,
Yeah, yep.
I was
Enneagram
like,
type one.
that's probably why it's like, because everything needed to be like, I don't want to, like, in order to
Yep,
some degree, you know what I mean? And
yep.
so I remember, working on a marketing team with a lot of creative. So I kind of hit this space where I'm like, I love creativity, but I also have to have order. Like I have to have some order. And it has to be as right as it can be. And so I remember being on a marketing team, and I love Six Sigma. And my
Oh, that
teammates
is
were like,
such a
ew.
one. Yes, 1 and 6s really love that. So let's for folks that don't know what Six Sigma is, give one sentence as to what Six Sigma is so people understand.
Yeah, it's basically a science to business and quality control and the removal of errors and managing teams, and it's just basically a science behind it. And while I was getting that training, I was like, this is my life. I do this stuff in my life, and it's weird, and everyone thought.
So you must
So
have a
yeah,
lot of really clean surfaces at your house.
well, I have a lot of clean, and then one like in holding area
Yeah.
where everything.
That's where
Yes,
it goes when it doesn't have a place yet.
right, exactly.
That's awesome. I
Yeah,
love it. Okay.
yes.
So I think that very much speaks to your one your leading with the one motivation, which of course is to be right, to be correct.
Mm-hmm,
I hear in there a lot of servant leadership. So I
mm-hmm.
know that you're exploring the idea of a 9 wing. The 9 is the mediator or the
Yeah,
peacemaker.
yeah,
So as a servant leader, that really would lean into that 9 wing and the idea of harmony with your team.
yes, yes.
Um, and then also the 2 is the giver and the helper. And
Mm-hmm,
I do know that, I heard a little bit of that yesterday when we talked and some of the stuff you sent in your bio, which is just the general idea that you feel like there's a calling to you to help
mm-hmm,
others. And
mm-hmm.
that's when you're doing your best. So
Yes.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about that in terms of how that speaks to your one Enneagram type, and
Mm-hmm.
just, what that says about you.
Yeah, yeah. So, my one friend, he's like, you always want to fix something. Like, why do you always want to fix people and their things and what's going? Because I'm like, it's just not orderly and it's not. It doesn't make sense. He's like, you need to lay off of trying to fix people. But so I'm trying to take it back from a not fixing, but just offering the helping hand in a way. And my new thing is just helping people and loving people in a
Yes.
way that is best for them, not in a way that I think they need to be fixed or helped or whatever. So basically my thing is, how can I serve you? And this is what I'm strong at.
Mm-hmm.
If you have use for me, then by all means, yes. If you don't, then we don't need to explore that. So that's kind of the way that I've taken it. And then just in leading my teams, I have this thing where I've always wanted to like stick up for people, and it's a gift and a curse, because at a young age, someone's getting bullied on or whatever. And then even leading a team, if
Mm-hmm.
one of the teammates talks, says something kind of not positive about another teammate, then I have to correct that, because I don't want them to think that that kind of like goes. So I have this thing where I want everyone to be in a good place with each other, and understanding each other. And also, how can I help you? Because what I've learned is that if I help people and then let them use me and then get out of their way, then there's good things happen.
I just think that's a really wonderful perspective, especially as an Enneagram 1, because the shadow side of an Enneagram 1 can get caught up in correcting people as their love language, not realizing that people feel criticized and
Yep.
less than.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, and I don't know if this is your experience, but oftentimes with Enneagram 1s, there's what's called the inner critic, and that critic is inside them very loud. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's telling them everything needs to be correct. And what
Mm-hmm.
happens is it translates into how they communicate correctness to others, and they end up looking like the critic as opposed to somebody that actually intentionally just wants to help, because they
Yeah.
truly just want to see things be as best as they can be. So for
Mm-hmm.
you to say, I started to realize that people didn't always want my help. So it's more about how can I be of service? Here are my
Mm-hmm.
strengths. I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy to help you. And then when they figure it out, pull back. I think that's very
Exactly.
self-aware, very wise, and that's
Mm-hmm.
great advice for any Enneagram 1 or somebody that leads with the Enneagram 1 motivation, to understand the risk of how they can come off because of the inner critic driving themselves. I think that's very smart. I'm
Yes.
seeing. Are you
Am I
hearing me
back? Am I
okay?
back? Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
It was for
Um,
like 1 second. Yeah.
there's little gremlins in the Instagram live system, so we
Uh,
just roll with them. We just let them be. Um,
cool.
so um, so I would love to next go into talking about your motivation,
Mm-hmm.
or the Enneagram 1 motivation to be
Mm-hmm.
good, to be correct.
Mm-hmm.
These are typically developed during childhood, usually in the
Mm-hmm.
formative years. It depends on how you grow up, but typically in the formative years between 8 and 13. Um, and you've already mentioned something that really stood out to me yesterday that I'd like to dive
Mm-hmm.
deeper into. And that
Yeah.
is your childhood growing up as a gymnast, and how
Yeah.
that really molded this type of motivation.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I was in gymnastics from ages 3 to 13. So I guess that's perfect, right? 8 to 13. But
Yeah.
in gymnastics, everything you do is criticized, like everything, down even the way you run, the training. It's kind of this Karate Kid type of thought where all you're doing is like step one, step two, and everything has to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no fault to gymnastics. It's just how it has to be, in order for you to have a successful career or whatever. But even the competitive piece of it is
Sure.
where you're just like, everything you do has to be perfect, and every mistake you do is, think of it as a point off. So
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? So you kind of approach life as, I have to be perfect, and if I make a mistake, that's a point off. Or
Wow,
that's,
the psychology of that is powerful.
Yeah, and it takes it, and and I this year, I'm like, I am unlearning just as much as I am learning. So I'm like dedicated to unlearning a lot of things and about myself just as much as I'm learning. But so even that competitiveness kind of stuck to me because I'm a super laid back person and everything like that. But even right now, like I'll get competitive for no reason, and I'm like, it's not that serious. Like, and I don't even consider myself a competitive person, but it's kind of like I'll have these triggers
Yeah,
that make
sure.
me competitive.
So tell me, do you have an example of something that's triggered you recently that started that competitive surge?
Yeah, putting my children in sports. So yeah, and just kind of putting them in sports and seeing them go up against one another. So recently, the recency effect, there was we had a cousin over with one of my sons, and this kid is like 2 years older than my son, and we just put my son in football, and so they're outside in the back, and my husband's there going like, ha ha, football, run run, touchdown. So I come out there and I see that our cousin is like beating my son, and so like I get into my son, and he's looking at me like, who are you? What is wrong with you? And why are you like this to me? And my husband's looking at me like, and I was like, I'm just gonna leave because I was not ready. So I was like, oh my God, like chill out. It's not that serious. This is, first of all, this is family. So, you should meet that. But second of all, I'm like, he at the time he was 4. I was like,
Well, that's good though. You know what? That was super mindful. That was super mindful because you caught yourself in the middle of it. You caught the motivation behind it. You realized
yes.
it wasn't healthy and you walked away. You
Yes.
paused and walked away. That's so fantastic, and I applaud you for that. And
Thank
now
you.
you just have to take the time to prepare yourself for these types of situations.
Tell me about it. Yes.
Maybe a meditation will help prior to athletic games.
I know. Right. So sometimes at his games, I don't pay attention. I'm like, with my other son, like, yeah, I can't pay attention all the way. I'm learning. Like I said, I'm unlearning just as much as I'm learning now.
Aren't we all? This year is the great unlearning, right? Oh my goodness.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a great story. I love that you shared that. So, I know you're developing more of your knowledge on the Enneagram and your experience with it. How do you think that it's going to be able to help you in motherhood?
Oh, kind of picking back on those kids, we kind of talked about this, just recognizing their gifts earlier, or right when I see something about them, like, aha, that is very specific and genuine to this one child, and kind of fostering it at that point rather than letting kind of like society or the norms kind of dictate how I raise my children. So for instance, my oldest, I recognized he was 3 months and I was like, this kid is kind of bright because he was just, doing things and, very observant. So kind of introducing him to sight words and everything like that a little sooner, and just kind of like fostering it rather than, well, they say you shouldn't do this until this age and this.
Yep.
And even, an example with my youngest, like he came out of the womb with his head up and moving around. He was like, I remember my one friend, she was like, I'm not picking this kid up because he's too antsy for me, but he's super antsy. So I kind of put him in soccer, put him in like little gymnastics class to just move around and kind of see where he's gifted at. So kind of just, recognizing gifts in my children early rather than, like, oh, like for instance, basketball. I was like, well, basketball starts at this age. And I was like, I think he's ready. So we're going to put him in. So I'm like, I think my kids are ready. As soon as I think they're ready, I'm like, yeah, you're going in.
Well, and something that you said to me yesterday, I'd love to talk about because I really loved this. You said that you are not going, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm trying to paraphrase, so correct me if I get this wrong, but you're not going to allow the societal constructs to
Mm-hmm.
dictate what your children can and can't do.
Absolutely.
So can you
Absolutely.
share a little more about that statement
Yes.
and
Yes.
what that looks like?
Yes, yes. Well, you know, society and everything, schools, and you know, nothing. We need structure, right, in life to
Sure.
guide people. But you know, but I think there are exceptions to every rule. And when you recognize you're an exception, you need to go with it. You know, and so society, you know, lets us know. You know, for instance, I have a very good example. My child, he just turned 5, and so he was not kindergarten ready. But like I said, I recognized early on that, you know, he's a little brighter. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Whitney, I had to fight. I never had to fight so hard to get my child into kindergarten. And right now he's like thriving in kindergarten, because the state and the school system and
Was
everything
it the
like that.
age
So
cutoff?
yeah, age cut off
Yeah.
17 days. Um, I
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah.
17, I was like, but because society and everything told me that my child at this age, even though, you know, 17 days later, he's not smart enough to go into kindergarten or emotionally ready
Mm-hmm.
enough to go into kindergarten, even though you can tell me a kid born 2 weeks before him is ready. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I fought that. So that's just an example of society kind of just like me not accepting it, and me kind of like just recognizing what the gifts are and what the strengths
Mm-hmm.
are, and kind of going for it from there.
I
Yeah.
love it. And I think that also speaks to your competitive spirit. You know, in a good way, in a good
Yeah.
way. Like that, you're not accepting defeat here, you know,
Yeah.
because this is something worth fighting for. So, you know, I applaud you
Yeah.
on that. Another thing that you said, as you explore leading with the Enneagram One, that I thought stuck out was Enneagram Ones and Enneagram Eights, which is what I am, which is the
Mm-hmm.
challenger.
Mm-hmm.
We both have a strong spirit for justice, and
Mm-hmm.
so for you to have commented during your workspace, and I meant to say this earlier, and I forgot, about, you know, folks talking about other folks in a bad
Mm-hmm.
light, or seeing someone as a child being bullied or whatever. It is very, very common
Mm-hmm.
for folks of our type to that lead with our type to step in and
Mm-hmm.
stop that. And
Mm-hmm.
so because we are going to protect those that we
Mm-hmm.
perceive either can't protect themselves or just need an
Yeah.
assist, you know.
Yes.
And so that
Agreed.
very much speaks to leading with a one as well. So I love what you said. What I want to capture here for parents watching is fostering the strengths of your children as you see them, not waiting
Mm-hmm.
around,
Mm-hmm.
and explore where they're gifted, and
Yes.
and really get momentum behind that when they start
Absolutely.
developing it and not waiting.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
like that. I like that a lot. And again, to me, I hear a lot of your experience in this. I mean, you started as a gymnast at 3 years old, so you know
Yeah.
something about this
Mm-hmm.
and the potential and the capability of a young child.
Yes. 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 And you know, it is, you know, and I think I think we are what we are. You know, you were probably an 8, a little bit of an 8, and I was probably a 1, a little bit out the womb. And then
Yep.
what I was into kind of just got, you know, me super hyper,
Yes.
and that is kind of, you know, I was even thinking, I was like, you know, in college, like I couldn't study unless my room was clean, or there were just certain things where everything had to be perfect and in
Mm-hmm.
mind. And it's like, I'm like, I'm not OCD. I just love order. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I'm like, I'm not like
That, yes.
clicking 3
That's the
times
difference
and then
between us.
thank you.
I can study in a mess, but I will study like a machine.
Yes, yes. So that's just like perfectionist and everything. So yeah, and
Yeah.
I will say that I love how you mentioned justice, because that is what I named my second child without even, you know, it just came like I wanted to name him Shannon because after me,
Yeah, I
because
love it.
my oldest is named after our husband, Dante. So I was
Yeah.
like, well, I want to.
My turn. Yeah.
He was like, absolutely not. So we didn't give him a name until like the second day in the hospital. And he was like, my husband was like, and kind of piggybacked on me traveling. And when I went to Africa, there was this little boy named Justice. I just fell in love with him. And then what even like nailed it was at that time, everything was going on with the injustice in society with African American people. So I was like, you know what? Justice. My child's name is Justice.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's fantastic. That's a great story. It's a great story about how you came up with his name, and yes to all of that. Yeah. But I do love that you wanted to name him after you too.
I wanted to SJ, right? Shannon.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to add this morning before we hop off? This has been wonderful.
No, I just love the work, and this has kind of reignited me to look a little bit even more into it and share with my husband. I'm always like, well, tell me what you think about this. And he's like, oh, you know, so kind of explore with the family a little bit more, but this has been great. Thank you, Whitney.
Oh, thank you so much. And definitely do explore it with your spouse. It really helps the line of communication and just understanding each other. It's a powerful tool. So absolutely. I do hope you stay in touch. And as you go on your journey, you know, you can always ask me any questions.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Shannon. Have a great Monday and a great week.
You too. Take care.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
All right. That was Shannon Jenkins, who leads with an Enneagram 1, Wing 9, Cincinnati, Ohio, mom of 2 fantastic little boys. What a wonderful interview. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you again, Shannon, for your time today. And on Wednesday at 9 a.m., our next interview is Mary McAnally. She is out of Asheville. So I'm really excited to speak to her as well. She's a fellow 8, so that should be a fun conversation. Thank you again to Gallia Collaborative. And again, just to remind you, Gallia is sponsoring us, and I just want to make sure that I touch on their mission. It's for women, by women, dedicated to providing expert services and resources to heal, grow, and lead. Remember, you can go to their website. They offer a free mental wellness self-assessment on there, and they are starting in November for all you pregnant moms, a prenatal thrive circle, again, starting in November. And so this is for any prenatal mom, not just first-time moms. So follow their handle and check out what they have to offer. Thanks a lot. We will see you on Wednesday. Bye.